For the most part, superheroes tend to keep the secret identities that they were introduced with, but from time to time, that hero is put out of action and someone else has to take up the mantle. Usually these legacy characters fail to live up to the legend they are replacing, but every once in a while, they actually manage to do certain elements as good or better than their predecessor. Welcome to Top 10 Nerd. I'm Andrew Boyd, and today we will be looking at the top 10 legacy characters better than the original. Let's dive in. Number 10. Ironheart. Better than Iron Man. Okay, hear me out on this one. Riri Williams is a teenage superhero genius who was able to reverse engineer an Iron Man suit by looking at Tony Stark's suit. Tony was impressed with her work and drafted her to fight alongside him in the second Marvel Civil War against Captain Marvel's forces. By the end of the war, Tony was in a coma and Riri was made Ironheart, Iron Man's successor. She used an AI of Tony to help her with the learning curve, but eventually replaced him with an AI of her own design. In her time as a superhero, she has managed to defeat a variety of supervillains and has shown herself to be close to, if not equal, to Tony Stark in raw intelligence. But why is she better? Well, it honestly has less to do with her and more to do with Tony. The original Iron Man has made a series of blunders over the years, such as forming the Illuminati, which led to an angry Hulk taking over New York. He was directly involved in starting not one but two civil wars, one of which resulted in the Avengers being disbanded and unable to prevent the Skrull invasion. He was in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. but screwed up so hard that Norman Osborn was put in charge of national security, and he turned himself into a god and killed all of his friends after going crazy. Riri Williams is the better superhero simply because she hasn't had multiple instances of nearly destroying the world in her efforts to make it better. Number 9. Blue Beetle just keeps getting better. The original Blue Beetle was Daniel Garrett, an archaeologist who discovered a powerful artifact called the Blue Scarab. It bonded to Dan and gave him superpowers such as flight, super strength, and energy projection. He became the first Blue Beetle, but one of Dan's students, Ted Kord, took over the mantle when Dan was killed in action while trying to stop Ted's evil uncle from taking over the world. Ted couldn't get the scarab to work for him and decided to instead train himself to his physical peak and use his skills as an inventor to create vehicles and gadgets that would help him fight crime. He operated as a hero in the DC universe for years, being a member of such teams as the Birds of Prey and the Justice League until he was killed in action by the villain Maxwell Lord. The mantle of Blue Beetle survived, with the third Blue Beetle, a teenager named Jamie Reyes, finding the scarab that granted the first Blue Beetle his powers. It fused itself to his spine and gave him the abilities of flight, super strength, mechanokinesis, metamorphosis, as well as access to sound, energy, and fire manipulation weapons. Not only is he the coolest looking of the three Beetles, he is by far the most powerful, and he only gets more powerful as Jamie gets more experience as a hero. Number 8. The new Superman does what the original can't. The son of Lois Lane and Clark Kent, Jonathan Samuel Kent has been a superhero since an early age, becoming Superboy when he was 10 years old. After an incident involving a black hole, he was imprisoned by the villain Ultraman for several years before he escaped and returned to Earth. Although it had been years for him, it had only been a few weeks on Earth. The now 17-year-old was tasked by his father with protecting Earth while he went away to deal with an extraterrestrial threat, and John became the new Superman. Although one might assume that as someone who's half human and half Kryptonian, he would be weaker than a full Kryptonian, tests that were run on him before his birth by Batman revealed that his unique physiology would actually be an advantage, giving him the potential to be even more powerful than the original Man of Steel. Another way that he has more power than Kal-El is his ability to become involved in Earth's issues. As the original Superman explained to his son in Superman, Son of Kal-El number 2, the reason he had refrained from involving himself more in many of Earth's issues and conflicts was that as an alien born on Krypton, he didn't feel he had the right to impose his beliefs on the people of Earth and should instead lead by example. He went on to say that as someone who was born on Earth, John could involve himself more and end up having more of a positive effect on Earth than even the original Superman. Number 7. Dick Grayson crushed it as Batman. The original Batman is one of the most beloved superheroes of all time, having used his massive brain and fortune to become the world's greatest detective and one of the world's greatest martial artists. When a young boy named Dick Grayson's parents were killed, Bruce adopted him and made him the first Robin. All of Dick's childhood was dedicated to training him to be an even better hero than Batman and to perhaps one day take over the mantle. Dick eventually became the hero Nightwing, but when Bruce was presumed dead, it became clear that a new Batman had to take his place. Several people fought over the cowl, such as Tim Drake and Jason Todd, but in the end, Dick became the new Batman and took on Bruce's troubled son Damian as his Robin. Not only did Dick manage to live up to the mantle and keep Gotham safe, in some ways he was actually a better Batman than Bruce. He had a healthier relationship with the GCPD, where they were more comfortable around him and willing to work with him. He was able to take Damian under his wing in a way that Bruce struggled to match, and he was more open to collaboration with other heroes and members of the Bat family, something Bruce constantly struggles to do, resulting in him causing issues for everyone. When Bruce returned, he was so impressed with Dick's work that he asked him to stay on as Batman to protect Gotham while he worked on establishing Batman Inc. Although he has since gone back to being Nightwing, it's no wonder Batman considers Dick Grayson his greatest accomplishment. Number 6. Captain Marvel. More powerful than the original? Mar-Vell was a member of the alien race known as the Kree, who came to Earth and took on the identity of Dr. Walter Lawson, a scientist working at Cape Canaveral, Florida. There, he met Carol Danvers, who he developed a relationship with. He became the hero Captain Marvel, and she became Miss Marvel. The two acted as superheroes for years until Mar-Vell died of lung cancer in 1982. In the time after his death, a few different characters have taken on the Captain Marvel identity, such as his son, Genis Vell, and Monica Rambeau. But in 2012, Carol Danvers took on the mantle and became the new and current Captain Marvel. An element that she does better than the original Captain is her ability to work with others. While Mar-Vell would occasionally work with other heroes, he was never made an Avenger until he was posthumously granted the honor. Carol, on the other hand, has been a member of several different teams over the years, such as the Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D., the Guardians of the Galaxy, and the Alpha Flight space program. She is also a frequent ally of the X-Men. She is a much more involved hero, and as a result has had a much bigger impact on Marvel continuity than the original Captain Marvel. Number 5. There was an original Black Canary? Black Canary is a well-loved superhero in the DC universe, but not everyone realizes that Dinah Lance was not the original hero to go by this name. Her mother, Dinah Drake, was the original Black Canary, first appearing in Flash Comics number 86 all the way back in 1947. Originally, her MO was similar to the Green Hornets, with her posing as a criminal in order to get close to and then take out criminals, but she soon abandoned this plan and became a more straightforward crime fighter. She had no powers, but was a skilled fighter and acrobat who was known for training canaries to do amazing feats. She joined the Justice Society and married a detective named Larry Lance. She eventually gave up the mantle and was replaced by her daughter, Dinah Laurel Lance, in 1969's Justice League of America number 75. The second Black Canary is far more effective than her mother, being one of the greatest martial artists on the planet, according to official canon, being evenly matched with Batman. She has a keen tactical mind, and although she doesn't train birds, she possesses the metahuman gene, which gives her her signature ability, the Canary Cry, a devastating sonic attack capable of damaging objects and hurting her enemies. Number 4. Johnny Storm's Human Torch is fantastic. The original Human Torch was a humanoid android designed by a scientist to be a perfect imitation of humanity. Due to a bizarre design flaw, whenever the android was exposed to air, he would burst into an extremely hot flame. The android achieved sentience and went on a run through the city, burning everything he touched and being unable to control his fire. He eventually learned how to control himself and became one of the most popular Marvel crime fighters of the Golden Age. He was retired as a character not long after the end of the Golden Age, and his name and power set were reused for Johnny Storm when the Fantastic Four stories began being published at the beginning of the Silver Age. He was eventually brought back, but it is fair to say that he is the more obscure version of the character, with Johnny not only being much more powerful, but much more interesting than the Jim Hammond android. Number 3. Wally West, a Generations Flash. Similar to how Dick Grayson got the Batman gig, Wally West started out as Barry Allen's sidekick, Kid Flash. When Barry Allen seemingly died in the Crisis on Infinite Earths, his old sidekick took up the mantle. Unlike other legacy characters who took on the original hero's legacy for like a year, Wally was the main Flash in DC continuity from 1986 all the way until 2009. In this time, he became a fan-favorite version of the character, being more quippy and impulsive than his mentor. Wally was so popular that when the Justice League animated series came out in 2003, Wally was the featured speedster, not Barry. In fact, when Barry was eventually brought back in 2009, many fans were quick to point out that Barry had been rewritten to have many of the personality traits that had made Wally so beloved. Number 2. Hal Jordan. Earth's greatest Green Lantern. The original Green Lantern, Alan Scott, got his powers when a mystical entity called the Starheart came to Earth and took on the shape of a lantern. It saved Alan from a train wreck and gave him the mental instructions to build himself a power ring which would create energy constructs. He became the first Green Lantern and joined the Justice Society. As the golden age of comics ended, his series was cancelled and he became somewhat obscure. 8 years after his cancellation, the title and concept of Green Lantern was reinvented and we were introduced to Hal Jordan in 1959. He was a test pilot who was chosen to join the Green Lantern Corps, a group of space cops tasked with defending the galaxy. Hal got a better look than Alan, he was given more power, and most importantly, was part of a group that lent itself to a rich and complex mythology that is much more beloved by fans than the original Golden Age version of the character. Number 1. Barry Allen was so cool he started the Silver Age. The original Flash, appearing in 1940, was Jay Garrick, a college student who accidentally inhaled heavy water vapors while taking a smoke break in his lab. This gave him his super speed, which allowed him to become the hero, the Flash. Jay's Flash was known for wearing a simple red shirt with a lightning bolt and a kettle helmet with golden wings on the sides. When Flash was reinvented in the late 50s, his new identity was Barry Allen, a crime lab scientist who was hit by lightning and doused with chemicals and became able to tap into the Speed Force. Barry was given a much more iconic costume and series of rogues to fight, and his introduction is often referred to as the start of the Silver Age of comics. In an odd move, it was revealed that in Barry's universe, the adventures of Jay Garrick were comic books that Barry read as a child, inspiring him to call himself Flash. In the iconic Flash of Two Worlds story, it was revealed that Jay actually lived in a different world in the multiverse. The comics were a result of the writer being psychically influenced by the multiverse. This was later retconned and Jay became the Flash of the World War II era rather than a semi-fictional figure. But most of what we love about the Flash was introduced not by Jay's time as the Scarlet Speedster, but Barry's. Any other legacy characters who do the job better than the original? Let us know in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe for more Top 10 Nerd.